Okay, so for lesson 2.03, we're going to talk about solving inequalities. Now, you should remember that an inequality is a greater than or less than sign, or a greater than less than, or less than and equal to, or greater than and equal to, instead of an equal sign. For example, t is greater than -4 is an inequality. And what is this saying? That t can be any value that's greater than -4. Does it include -4? No, it's got to be greater than -4. Okay, so ignore that 1/2 up there. These are some examples of what an inequality looks like and what they mean. Go ahead and pause and write this down. Okay, so if I had 2 and the not equal sign, that means 2 is not equal to 5, 3 is less than 4, 5 is less than or equal to 7, 7 is greater than 3, and 8 is greater than or equal to 8. So let's consider this equation. 2x plus 5 is greater than or equal to 0. Just like you were going to do a regular equation, let's solve this for x. I would subtract 5 first, and that's going to give me 2x is greater than or equal to -5, and divide by 2. And that gives me that x is greater than -5/2. So let's check it and see if that's correct. What's the number greater than -5/2? How about 0? 0 is bigger than -5/2. Let's plug that in. Is 2 times 0 plus 5 bigger than or equal to 0? Well, what's 2 times 0? 0. 0 plus 5? 5. Is 5 greater than or equal to 0? Yes. So that means that's a true equation. Let's look at another one. Solve this one just like you would a regular equation, except it's got an inequality. You're going to subtract 2x from both sides, and then you're going to subtract 1 from both sides. So we got an answer. X is less than or equal to less than -4. What's the number less than -4? -5. All right, so let's check it. Does 3 times -5 plus 1 less than 2 times -5 minus 3? What's 3 times -5? -15 plus 1 is -14. Is that less than what's 2 times -5? -10 minus 3 is -13. Is -14 less than -13? It actually is, so yes, we're good. So, let's look at another problem. If you solved this, you would divide both sides by -2, I'm sorry, and get y is less than -9. What's the number less than -9? How about -10? Plug that back in, see what you get. If I plug it back in, I get -2 times -10 is less than 18. What's -2 times -10? Positive 20. Okay, is a positive 20 less than 18? No, it's not. How is that possible when I know I solved my equation correctly? Well, here's why. We have a rule for multiplying inequalities, and that rule says that whenever you divide or multiply an inequality by a negative sign, you must flip the inequality. I used to say sign, but I don't want to say sign anymore because it makes it confusing. So let's look back at our problem. -2y is less than 18. If you divide both sides by -2, your y is y, and your -18 divided by 2 is -9. But you flip that inequality sign. So now let's check it. What's the number greater than -9? 0. What's -2 times 0? Is 0 less than 18? Yes. All right, hit pause and work that out. Okay, so you're going to divide both sides by -4. X, you flip your inequality. 24 divided by -4 is -6. How did you do? All right, hit pause and try this one. All right, I'm going to divide both sides by -4. Flip your inequality. 8 divided by -4 is -2. How'd you do? Okay, let's try one more. Divide both sides by -7, and y is greater than a +2. Okay, so now we're going to talk about graphic inequalities. When you graph an inequality, you're graphing what the actual numbers represent. For example, if you were going to graph x equals 2 on a number line, you would just put a dot on the number 2. Well, when you graph an inequality, you're graphing a whole set of numbers. So things are different. Remember that this is an inequality and this is an inequality. And each one represents a different thing that you graph. Now, what's the difference between these two? That bottom line means it's equal to it. So what does x is less than 2 mean? Not what it says, what does it mean? That x can be anything less than 2. So, give me an example. How about 3? No, 3 is not less than 2. How about 2? No, 2 is not less than 2. How about 1? Yeah. How about 0? Yeah. How about 5? No. How about -5? Yeah. I have a whole set of numbers that represent x. How do I show that on a number line? First of all, you need your number line. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the number 2. Now, if I put a circle here, that means 2's included. And this doesn't say 2's included. It goes everything up to 2, but doesn't include 2. So how do I show everything up to 2, but not including 2? Well, I'm going to use an open circle. Now, how do I represent numbers less than 2? Which direction am I going to go? That way, all of those numbers are less than 2, so I make a number line going that way. So, when you graph inequalities on a number line, there are two things to remember. You need to pause and write these down as we go. First of all, you need to know what type of circle to use. If you're graphing greater than or less than, you're going to use an open circle. But if you're graphing greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, you use a closed circle. This means it goes right up and includes the number. This means it does not include the number. So my x is less than 2. I have what type of a circle? Open. On what number? 2. Which direction is my line going? Left. And that's how I graph x is less than 2. So how would I graph x is greater than -3? On a number line, what type of circle am I going to use? Open. Where's it going? On the -3. Which direction is my line going? To the right. Okay, I want you to try this one on your own and then hit pause and we'll see how you did. Okay. What type of number? What type of circle? Open or closed? Open. On what number? -1. What direction? Going left. Did I say open circle? Okay, let's take a look at this one. What type of circle? Closed. What direction am I going? Left. What number am I on? -1. Closed circle, going to the left. All right, try this one. Open or closed? Closed. Going what direction? Right. Has anyone noticed a pattern? Just a clue. So what about if you have an equation? You need to solve it. Subtract 3 from both sides. X is greater than -2. What type of circle? Open. Where? -2. What direction? Right. Now, that little clue only works if your variable is on the left side. All right, so solve and graph this. Hit pause. Don't forget to hit pause. All right, so I'm going to divide both sides by -9. What happens when you divide by a negative? You flip the inequality. So my b is greater than or equal to -5. Okay, what type of circle am I using? Open or closed? Closed. On what number? -5. In what direction? To the right. All right. Remember, when you have a fraction, you multiply both sides times the denominator. So I'm going to multiply both sides times 15. That would mean these would cancel out. So I would get 80 is greater than b. Now, what I would want to do in this situation is flip the whole thing so that my b is on the left side. It's always best to have your variable on the left side. So I'm going to graph this. Where am I going to start at? 80. What type of circle am I going to use? Open. What direction is it going? To the left, to the left. All right. I will see you in class. Have a nice evening.